all right, moving on to the next segment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great topic. Moving on to our my other favorite segment, Go Beyond the Like. This is where we bring together all these strategies, right? This is where we get to the meat and potatoes of how do you actually get this stuff done that you're supposed to get done in the digital marketing place, right? There's so many things you hear. I should be doing this. I should be following this trend. I go beyond in the Go Beyond the Like segment. We get you to that place of the true strategy to getting to achieve your business goals. So today we're talking about a super popular topic. People talk about it and do it all the time, content creation, but we want to take it in a different direction, and we want to talk about from keyword to content creation. And this is your checklist for that, right? So keywords are critical to your content creation strategy, and everyone here on this panel will attest to keywords and their strategy and the belief in it, because this is how we actually produce this show. We start with keyword. Keywords give you the information that it tells you what the audience is looking for, right? So that's the start there. So let me not jump into the checklist, but it's so important that you're not just creating content to create content. Don't dream that you're like, I gotta dream about this content. It has to start with being super strategic about the content that you're creating, right? You can create the nice to have or the nice to like content, but you got to be strategic about what you're trying to accomplish and how your content connects back to those business goals. All right, let's jump into the first point. It comes back to this target audience, right? It comes back to who are you trying to reach? We're trying to reach business executives and small business owners. And what are their challenges and pain points? Well, their challenges and pain points are that the ROI, they don't see the ROI on digital, their teams aren't trained enough, there's certain silos between sales, finance, pricing, and operations and marketing. So that's how you're kind of starting off, right? Really getting into the heart of the target audience. The target audience drives your content strategy, right? If you don't know what they are searching for, what they are thinking, then you're creating stuff just to create stuff, and that's not what we want. So it starts with really understanding and doing a deep dive into what your target audience is looking for. So I'm going to pass point one over to the team to pick it apart, because we always have to start with that, right? The target audience.
No surprise here, friends and family. We talk about this every show, going back multiple seasons on this. Is you have to start at home base, and who's your target audience? What's their demographics? What are their interests? And as Tamara said, their pain points. It's especially important because you want to make sure that you're speaking to your community of people. Everybody isn't your target audience. Everybody is not going to be attracted to what you're seeking. So it's important for us to understand exactly how they are seeking information. For instance, here's an example of a key term phrase that is being used out there. Specifically, let's talk TikTok. Skincare for over 50 women. That's real specific. How about let's get a bit more specific with hyperpigmentation, or for Black women, or for teenagers with acne issues. There's a specific target audience with a specific pain point that we've identified. Acne, they are women over 50, dry skin. I'm sorry, Michael, I'm leaving you out of this board because your skin is beautiful and you're certainly, of the male species here. But you get where I'm going with this, like we're speaking directly to a specific audience, a particular demographic. I said teenager. Think about those things when we're speaking. We're trying to be intentional, definitive, and narrow the audience and move out noise and be real specific in the lane that we're trying to drive into.
And I listened how you described it, Michelle, and you're right. Even though you excluded Michael, that's the whole point of it, excluding who it's not relevant to as well, so that they don't come and jam up your page, unnecessarily. They will know that, oh, that's not for me. But the person who's looking for it, they're there, you know. So the understanding of that target audience is so critical, even not just for you as a business owner going out, but even think about when the person is consuming the content, they'll know if they even want to consume the content because it's either speaking to them or it's not. Now, maybe Michael may somehow come back to you if maybe he's trying to get a product for someone who fits that category. So then he's also aware, oh, yes, well, this person, they usually speak to this group of people. So if it's not for me, but my friend, you know, or my mother or my sister or whoever, hey, you know, I saw this page, and you redirect. So target the definition of that audience is it works both ways.
And the definition always changes. So it's not a fixed point. Who are you trying to reach? So again, going back to Michelle's example and what Andrea said, excluding me. But while excluding me, I'm seeing maybe skincare. And then I pose a question to that company, say, do you also do this? So that's now giving that business an idea that, oh, maybe we have a market that we neglected as well. So there's a lot of sides to this, knowing your target audience and their challenges and pain points, but it's something that you want to keep revisiting every so often to make sure you're still on target.
100%. Still on target. It's my microphone. I don't even know what I'm doing. All right. Too much fun. All right. Next point. Let's talk about questions, right? So, based on your audience's questions, what keywords can you use to build out that content? So, the keywords are important, but what we also notice when we do searches is the questions and how people search in question format. So those pain points sometimes come in questions, and you can do a search on Google and you put into keywords, and just like Michelle talked about, right? You know, that specific group, right? Women over 50, teenagers. The questions they're asking the questions, what's the best, what's the top 10 recommendations, what's the this, what's the this, and those are the questions that your target audience is asking. So this is where we talk about your content also becoming the answer and you becoming the answer engine, right? So they're feeding you information through their keyword search, through the questions that they're asking. So you can now take this information and say, okay, great, how do I start responding to this? Because that's that, as Michelle talks about all the time, that call and response. And the information is right there for you. So understanding your keyword is important, but understanding how they're taking their challenges and framing those into the questions is also important.
Agreed. I think in this respect, this is the place that I think the time for us to, here I go again. I have, young nieces, so forgive me as I go down this road and I say this is not the time to play hard to get. This is the time for you to be direct and tell your audience and then show them, what you're all about and be direct. It's not time to waste time. Focus on your focus and be direct and answer that question. You want to respond directly. Our attention spans are nanoseconds at this point. Deliver the information succinctly and answer. And you're basically saying, I got you. You asked for the top 10 ways to resolve that dry skin in perimenopause and menopause. I got you. But also in the same respect of what Michael and Andrea were saying, if you have a product that answers the call to a different demographic and speak to it, men who also have dry skin, there's a way to say it to attract them and drive them directly to the place that you want them to go to, but you're speaking to them directly. So don't play hard to get. Be direct and tell them what you want and tell them that you have what they need. Don't beat around the bush and make it happen.
So be easy.
Yeah, be be easy for sure. So that I think this is like the cornerstone of content creation for sure. As you said, what we're trying to address here is that content creation in a vacuum, or content creation based on views of other content where you're just looking at the number of views that it got, and you're like, I want to do something like that for my business. But really and truly, what you're doing is the way to do that is to answer the questions that are being asked. There's no better way than to say this is the foundation right here.
And answer the people. Answer the people. They have questions. Be the answer to the people so that they'll know that you have the answers. I love that, Michelle. Just, and don't beat around the bush. Don't use 10 sentences when 3 would do. Because, right? It just, you're wasting effort on your end. And people, because of the short attention span here, by the time they get to that third sentence, they're gone because you haven't set up your point yet for them to know, oh, I should continue reading. So I love that, Michelle. Be direct, don't beat around the bush. Let them know that you have the answer that they're looking for.
Yeah. And some tools, one quick tool that you can use to this is answerthepublic.com. Something we've been using for a while. It gives basic information and you put your keyword in there, and what it'll tell you is all the questions people are asking around that. So you could start, it's a great way to start getting that overarching content that you should be creating. And you may need tools to go a little bit deeper, but it puts you on the path to the right content creation strategy. So check out Answer the Public, and yeah, put your keywords in there and see what you get. All right, so on to the next point. Point number 3, how do you break down those content pillars into subcategories for more organized and focused approach? So that's a great point. So you want to think about the main keyword and you want to break down, maybe you have 2 or 3 keywords, right? So for instance, right now we're ranking, last week, I haven't checked this week, so I don't want to, say it and
That
then
could
someone
change.
Last week we were ranking 21 for digital marketing solutions. We were ranking number 9. We went back up to 9 for custom digital marketing solutions. So those are the keywords that we're ranking for. So in that keyword strategy there, we're going to start talking about digital marketing solutions. So what are digital marketing solutions, right? Digital marketing strategies are digital marketing solutions. Content creation is a digital marketing solution. CRM is a digital marketing solution. So you kind of see how within all that keyword, we're starting to break down the topics that we're also presenting to you because it's a part of a digital marketing solution. We understand who's searching for digital marketing solutions, right? So, business executives are searching for it because they kind of want to understand. They're searching for, what are the strategies? What are those solutions? What are the things that can help me achieve my business? Sometimes, so we want to show up in those spaces. We want to show up in those spaces are they searching at the beginning of their research project, or are they making a decision, right? So we want to show up if they're just starting to research because we want to become the answer the entire time. We want to provide them with digital marketing solutions. They come into our world, they understand, great, here's how I take this to achieve my business goal, something that resonates with them. Here's how I work with sales, pricing, and marketing, something that resonates with them. So they're slowly going down our funnel, and it all started with that keyword, but it was everything that was relevant to what they need to do. How do I work with pricing, sales, finance, marketing? And those are the conversations we're having here. So we're feeding them back that content that moves them from that stage of research all the way down to the funnel of conversion, right? And that conversion could be, maybe they're listening to the show, we get their email address, maybe we move them into a lead, into a conversation, and then we're signing off on them as a client. So that's kind of the process from pillars and how you take that keyword and break it down into pillars. So anything to add there, guys? Any thoughts?
I think the content pillar it's such a core part of the process, as I said, to break that down. That's going to establish, the routine of the content creation. So you really want to understand, yes, I'm not doing this today and then something completely different next week and so on and so forth. So by breaking those pillars down into those succinct categories, as I said, you're always going to be answering what's being asked out there. And you're going to have a very clear path to what content you're creating on a regular basis.
I think of it as, I probably should have worn a different shirt today, the one that I have that says, let me overthink this. I've said that several times. When we get a bit more granular in what we're trying to say with the content and attaching it to pillars, what you're helping yourself do is to move noise out of the way. It helps you to be succinct in what you're saying, and it helps you to understand the what next. Here's what I'm providing. I'm providing pricing strategies. That's one of the content components that we're looking at for Lanyap, for as we revise what we're doing on the website. And as I was talking through this with T, we were speaking through, well, what about pricing strategies? Where are we going with this, and how do we want to speak to the community? But more importantly, what are they asking for, and how do we respond to that ask to relieve that pain in 3 specific ways? You know, how do I price this? Am I priced equal to the competition? How do I convert a sale from that price point? There are 3 different routes that we're trying to take to answer the questions that the community of people that I'm working with are asking. So the call and response in 3 specific ways based upon the pillars that we have under the pricing strategy umbrella. So that you have to be real concise, constrain what you're doing, and then you're just minimizing and bringing this down in an uncomplicated, frictionless way.
You know, this is where we start to see digital marketing doing what it does best, which is better than traditional marketing, because you couldn't get this type of call and response analysis with traditional marketing. And this generation of the content pillar is something that I don't think was there before. I could be corrected, but I don't think traditional marketing previously used to do this type of analysis. And if you're a CFO of a business, this is something that you would want to be part of the conversation, not because maybe you're contributing to what the pillar should be, but at least to satisfy that a strategy is being followed with these content pillars, and that we're not just moving from one set of content to another week by week, because then that will then say to you as a CFO, well, how is the marketing budget being spent? Are we, one week we're talking skincare, next week we're talking something else, you know, are we making sense? So pay attention that even if you are a CFO, this conversation is still for you, because it says a lot about the strategy that the marketing team has followed. And if you, as a non-marketing person, can look at the content pillars, and if you don't understand it, then it means your audience doesn't understand it either. So you still have a seat at the table. I just want to put that plug there that, yes, we're talking about the content pillars and whatnot, but even if you're not in the marketing team, you could still be part of the conversation to know what these pillars are and how they are breaking it down, to see if there's a strategy or some sort of logic that is being followed to address your consumer. That's my CFO plug.
I was going for the slow build up clap. I'm like, what's going on back there? Do you need some coffee, Nia? All right. Stop messing with Nia before stuff goes crazy. All right. All right, next point. This is one of my favorite points. How can I distribute my content effectively? So how many times are people creating content and then they're like, I'm just going to create more. No one sees it. They think, so I love when I talk to clients and they think, I'm so tired of that content. I feel like I've seen it so much. And my question to them is always, are you your target audience? Yeah. Because if you're not your target audience, you don't understand at what point they saw that content. Did they see the first 30 seconds? Did they see 10 minutes into it? Did they see the end? Did they just not see it at all? Don't assume because you've posted it, someone saw it. That is presumptuous of you. It's just not how we function in our spaces of our mobile devices and our desktop devices. We're in our own world thinking about it. So content distribution becomes really, really important. You want to get longevity out of your content, right? So we have content that we're using from 2 years ago to bring back into the fold because people may not have seen that content and it's still relevant content. So how are you getting that on all the right platforms and channels? How are you giving it more reach? Recently, what we started doing was, I got to shout out the East Orlando Chamber of Commerce. One of the ways we're promoting and pushing our contents a little bit more is by using their tool called Chamber Master, where we're able to put up information, deals, hot deals, events, all that stuff. And then that information pushes out to their social media profiles, which are all business owners or business executives or small businesses, our target audience, right? So we're now using that as another distribution channel to get our content out there. Right, we're writing our blogs, we're sharing our blogs on LinkedIn. Well, we've started to. I think we've done one so far. We need to do a little bit more. But we're now saying, okay, when we have a piece of content, how are we moving it forward? We're focused on driving more likes. No, we're focused on driving more followers to YouTube. So one of the things we're going to do is make sure that as we begin reposting and talking about stuff in our posts, we're going to link back to that YouTube video. So we drive people back to those YouTube channels. And that could be for season 1, 2, 3, or 4. If it's relevant, we're going to do it. If I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm sending them an email, I'm going to then take a snippet of content from the podcast, send it to them to be like, hey, here's what we're talking about, and here's how we break it down. So now it's a bit of an introduction, and we're distributing the content as a part of our day-to-day, as a part of the conversation through email marketing. We're making sure that this content gets maximum visibility. And that comes back to your goals. If you have a video, where do you want to get it to? So this week I made the proclamation to the team. We want to get all the videos on YouTube to at least 500 views. We're slowly building views, right? Now, can we do more? 100%. But we're looking at a specific target audience. We're not looking at, just complete explosive growth yet. 500 may seem a little to you, but then that gives us more understanding of if we're producing the right content, and then we can set our goal for 1,000. So, we have over 168 videos there. So maximizing that could really be good. And we understand that as people come in, they can follow the journey with us. So that's when I talk content distribution, that's what we're talking about. So team, I'm kicking that over to you because I know y'all got something there.
I have a strong opinion about this one too. It is one of the primary things that I tell my clients is when you are identifying that target audience, you need to go into the space where they are as well. Not an empty room or a place where there's a lot of people, but not your people. You have to go and understand that just because TikTok is the rave place and the popular place, but is that the place that your people are going? And that's really important. Are you speaking to a community of people who are not interested in what you're saying? Or are they in LinkedIn? That's a smaller audience or a broader audience that actually is seeking the information and the solutions that you're providing. And that is key. They will want your information. They will lean into your information, and you will find that your audience will be engaging and grow and interactive, which is really important and at the heart of why we're looking for these key terms for us to lean into. Or are you in some space because it's just a popular space to be in, and you're having problems gaining engagement? You're having problems getting people to follow you. You're having problems getting people to watch your content for an extended period because they are simply not your people. So it is key for you to be in the space where your audience resides and visits often.
If I could just give one simple example, so just to bring it home for people, think about when you're applying for a job, you're on the job hunt. You don't send your resume to one company or even one type of company. So I'm an accountant. I could get a job in almost any sector, right? I wouldn't just send it only to maybe specific types of companies. You try to send it across the board. So it's the same thing with your content, and you want it to be in the hands of all these different people. Same thing with your resume. You try to get your resume into the hands of so many different people. And think about, even in one company, you might send it through the normal application process. And then if you found out that you have a friend in there, you might ask a friend, well, do you think you could get it in there for me too? And you give it to that person. And then you give it to some, all of this is the same effect, trying to get the information in the hands of the right people. But in order for it to get into the hands of the right people, it may have to pass through different hands, different channels. So think about the content distribution in the same way, that to get to the right people, it probably has to be in all these different places before it gets to the right person that needs to buy your product.
That's what I'm saying. All right, so the next point is, how will you tailor your content? What are you going to do for each platform? What makes sense to reach optimal engagement, right? We tailor our content through video. We also tailor our content through blog posts. We're also tailoring our content now through creating checklists. We're also going to tailor that content to email marketing. So we're looking at ways we're going to tailor it to shorter form content. I'm working on TikTok, so we're going to tailor the content in different ways to feed it, right? But the long form content is the content that we create first, and then we kind of build from there. So you need to determine, like, how are you going to create this content? Are you going to start writing? Some people are better writers. It's easy for them to start that way. You know your keyword and you want to write a blog post. You just have to determine what works best for you and what's easiest for you. We've put what we have here is a well-oiled machine. So it's very, we've been doing it for a while now, and it's like we can have a half an hour to an hour long meeting once a week. We kind of know where we're going, we know the direction, and it's a solid plan, and it's in rotation. So this is content creation, and we've connected this back to our individual businesses to understand how this content is also relevant to that. So it's not just a fit the show. It serves all the gods. So quick thoughts on that, guys.
I'll jump in on this one, because this is operations squarely. So you're looking at what's that foundational content? As we said, for us it's this show, and then how does that content now get broken up for other platforms? So this is where creating those templates for each platform that you want to use in conjunction with the content that you're producing. That, well, when we produce this show, what's going to happen is we're going to have a checklist that's going to be created. We know that this show is going to be broken up into 3 parts. It's going to be Beyond the Likes, it's going to be Hot Topics, it's going to be the recap, it's going to be checklist. So you want to understand what's that creation process from that foundation content. What's your foundation content? Is it a blog? Is it a podcast? And then what are the templates that work for the platforms that you're aiming at, so that you can easily chop that content and distribute it and use it, as Tamara said, repurpose.
Another important point is the KPIs, the analytics, right? Based on the data and analytics, is its content strategy working? So you got to start looking at that. Are people clicking? Are they reading? What's the time on site? Where are you hosting the content? What's happening? There should be data points to support the content. Are you getting email addresses? Are you not? Are they moving? What are they doing? So you can understand if this is relevant or if you need to pivot the content strategy. And the next thing you want to do is you want to get to a place where you're repurposing and reusing content. Okay, there is no reason to reinvent the wheel, especially if you have specific keywords. You're having variations of a really targeted conversation. So repurpose and reuse, reformat, cut a different clip, say something different about it, add text to it. Really allow yourself to leverage the content in a way that makes sense. Don't fall into the formulas that you hear. We're looking at our content in a very different way now, and we're saying, hey, how do we really, really expand on this and repurpose it? One of the things we talk about is being content rich. It is the first step to being a billionaire, being content rich. And so being content rich allows us to take this and now kind of stretch it and move with it. Repurpose, if we're not available, we have content that we can use, so the business really doesn't stop running because of this content. So all right, final thoughts. I'm going to kick it over to Michelle. Mike, you wanted to say something?
That on that last point, I'll make this my final thought. That repurpose and reuse, as he said, not everybody has seen your content, and the feeling might be there that, oh, but I've talked about this before. But the industry that you're targeting or the people that you're targeting, yes, pain points remain the same year to year. So every year we're going to talk assessment. We're going to talk digital and marketing assessment. That does not change. But the way in which we talk about it may change, or the questions that people are asking may change. So that repurpose and reuse is so ultra important. Do not feel you have to create something quote unquote new every time.
Agreed there, Michael. And I think to wrap up from a sales and market, excuse me, a sales and pricing perspective for the show, my takeaway for our community is we've said a lot here, but in the core of it, we have some strong, consistent pillars that we talk about every show. Start at your home base. Who is your target audience and the demographics for them? And what are they asking that they need your assistance with? And show that you have the answer to that question, that you have the answer, the response to their call that they're asking for. Ensure that the audience that you're speaking with, that you're in the environments that they're in, and that you're speaking directly to them, that you're not just in a random place because it's the crowded room. You want to be in the room of the people who are needing you have. Remember that the point of entry is not linear. They come into the room from different doors, and how they're consuming and accepting and receiving the information that you're saying is received in different ways. So the same content, you are not recreating the wheel, you're just delivering it in a different fashion. It might be a top 10 bullet point. It may be a short form video, or they may later then come in and say, I need to see the rest of it. And therefore that long-term, that long form video that you reside in YouTube somewhere, or a vlog or a blog, will be utilized, stretching the point on and pulling the thread on those same bullet points. So it's just repurposing information that you already have in a succinct fashion that meets the need in the places that your people are patronizing on a regular basis.
So I think about content creation, and I think business owners should think about it this way. Content creation is like, when you have maybe a multinational and you hire people who could speak different languages. So maybe you're in the Latin American market, so you'd say, I need somebody who speaks Spanish, I need somebody who speaks Portuguese, etc. And because you have all these different markets, content creation can be that salesperson for you in all these different markets, because you'll be with the right process and the right strategy. You'll be able to take your content through all the things that we spoke about on this show and be able to talk to your different subsets of your audience, right? But all still within, you're selling the same product, but you're speaking the different language to everyone, right? Touching on the last point that we just spoke about, that repurposing and of content allows you to take the same message, but tweak it based on your keyword to speak to the person over 50. And then you could tweak it to speak to the teenager. And then you tweak it, and that's all you're doing, right? So it becomes this salesperson for every different market. So think about it from that perspective. You may hire somebody because they speak a particular language, and you send them into that market. And then somebody else, you send them somewhere else because they're specialized in that. And why? Because they're literally speaking the language of the person that you're trying to reach. So think about content creation like that linguistic part of your business, the language of your business, so that people understand what you are saying, and you're tweaking it to speak every single person language. So you become your own interpreter with, sending all these different messages, but still with one core message. If I hope that makes sense. But you're tweaking it so that everybody, it's one core message, but it's being delivered in so many different ways that you're touching so many different people. So think about it from that perspective. And then when you think about it from that perspective, you will then realize that you don't, there's people say, well, just post for posting's sake. No, it will then become a very targeted and deliberate and intentional way, right? You may realize you may go silent for a while because why? Because you're trying to build this core message. You don't want to just put things out there for putting its sake. That's not content creation. That's just posting. And as Michelle said, it could actually create more noise than help than be helpful. That's my final
100%.
point.
I love All right. So final thoughts here is that content is the fuel that drives that engine that is your sales funnel, right? And it's important that you are giving the person the information that they need. You need to attract them with the content, draw them in, and then move them down your process. And it is 100% about them, their pain points. They must see themselves in the content. They must want this content. They must be searching for this content. Usually we have so many questions, but what happens with this process is that you become the answer, right? So you get the questions, you're not asking the questions, the person's asking the questions, you understand that, and you get to become the answer. So that's how we get to that place of creating the right content and getting from keyword to content creation.